I watched in utter disbelief as flames consumed my wedding dress. The ivory satin, which had taken 6 months of meticulous work to perfect, was now nothing but a blackened, melting ruin. Margaret Wilson, my soon-to-be mother-in-law, stood before me in the bridal suite of Cleveland's Grand Pavilion, holding a lighter in her perfectly manicured hand, her face twisted in a mix of triumph and fury. "Now you can't marry my son?" she shouted, her voice high-pitched with hysteria. "Jason deserves someone from our social circle, not some nobody from the wrong side of town." With a smug smile, she tossed her designer purse over her shoulder, clearly pleased with herself. "I am Valerie Mitchell, 25 years old, and I never imagined I'd be witnessing my wedding dress burn just 30 minutes before walking down the aisle." My 3 bridesmaids stood frozen in shock, their lavender dresses a stark contrast to the smoky ruins at my feet. "Mrs. Wilson," I said, surprisingly calm, as I reached for my phone, "you have no idea what you've just done." Margaret laughed, a brittle sound that seemed to crack with satisfaction. "What I did? I saved my son from the biggest mistake of his life," she declared. "You think a community college degree and a job at a local advertising agency make you worthy of a Wilson? My Jason belongs with Melissa Hammond. Her father owns half of downtown Cleveland." I pressed a button on my phone, keeping my gaze on Margaret's face as I did. My bridesmaid, Jessica, hurried over to open a window, trying to clear the smoke that was now filling the room. "The wedding's off," Margaret continued dismissively, waving her hand. "I'll just tell everyone you got cold feet. Jason will be upset for a while, but he'll understand eventually." "Are you sure about that?" I asked, turning my phone screen towards her. On it was a live feed of the ceremony space, showing the rows of pristine white chairs, the floral arch at the altar, and the enormous projection screen now displaying a perfect view of the bridal suite, including Margaret in all her destructive glory. Her face drained of color. "What? What is that?" "The wedding livestream," I explained, my tone calm. "It's been running for the past 20 minutes, capturing everything from the guests' arrivals to the musicians setting up. It's been broadcasting for Jason's grandparents in Florida and my sister, who's deployed overseas." I paused for effect, meeting her gaze. "And now, it's showing you destroying my wedding dress while revealing your true feelings about me." "Turn it off," Margaret demanded, lunging for my phone, her perfectly styled hair now falling loose around her face. "You planned this. You set me up." Jessica stepped in between us. "Mrs. Wilson, everyone just saw you commit arson on live video. Maybe you should think about your next move." My phone buzzed with incoming messages. My bridesmaid, Tina, glanced at the screen and gasped. "It's Jason," she said. "He's coming to the bridal suite." Margaret's expression turned to one of panic. Her eyes darted around the room as if searching for a way to escape. "This isn't what it looks like," she stammered. "I was just testing the fabric. Wedding dresses are supposed to be flame retardant." From the phone, we could hear the sounds of murmuring guests. The camera angle had shifted, and someone had taken control of the live stream. It now showed the wedding party's reactions. Jason's father was sitting in the front row, his expression unreadable. Jason's best man was already rushing toward the building. But the most telling sight was Jason, no longer standing at the altar, but sprinting down the aisle, his face twisted in a mix of shock and fury. "Valerie," my bridesmaid Melody whispered, "what are we going to do about the ceremony? Should we tell everyone to go home?" I looked down at the charred remains of my wedding dress, now just blackened scraps on the antique hardwood floor. My practical side, the part of me that had worked 2 jobs to put myself through college, was already thinking ahead. "No," I said firmly. "The ceremony is happening, just differently." The doors suddenly burst open. Jason stood there, still dressed in his tuxedo, his eyes flicking from my face to his mother to the ruined dress at my feet. Behind him, the venue manager and his father stood, both clearly horrified. "Mom," Jason said in a dangerously quiet voice, "tell me I didn't just watch you burn Valerie's wedding dress while saying she isn't good enough for our family?" Margaret's entire demeanor shifted in an instant. "Sweetheart, you don't understand," she said, trying to recover. "I was protecting you." This girl has been after your money from the very beginning. I was just testing her character. Stop, Jason cut her off, his voice sharp. Stop lying. I heard everything. Turning to me, his eyes softened with regret. Val, I'm so sorry. I had no idea she would do something like this. I carefully stepped around the charred remains of my dress and moved toward him. It's just a dress, I said softly, even though we both knew it meant so much more than that. But your mother just showed exactly what she thinks of me. Of us. In front of everyone. Jason took my hands in his, seemingly oblivious to his mother's frantic protests. What do you want to do, Val? It's your call. Before I could answer, Mr. Wilson appeared behind Jason, his expression grim. Here's the rephrased and reorganized version of the passage you provided. Margaret, what have you done? His voice was soft, yet controlled, with an intensity one had never heard before. Richard, please, Margaret begged, her voice pleading. You know the Hammonds would be a much better match. Their family has been ingrained in Cleveland's elite society for generations. I couldn't help but think about Valerie, who had built a successful career on her own, fueled by determination and hard work. Mr. Wilson shook his head in disbelief. You've gone too far this time. As his words hung in the air, my phone buzzed with notifications. I glanced down to find a flood of messages from guests who were watching the unfolding drama through the live stream. The venue coordinator appeared at the door, looking uncertain. Ms. Mitchell, she said hesitantly. The guests are wondering what's going on. Should we make an announcement? I glanced at the mess that was my ruined dress, then at my bridesmaids, who stood in their lavender gowns. A plan began to form in my mind, one that would turn Margaret's sabotage into a new opportunity. Tell them there's been a change of plans, I instructed. But the ceremony will go on in 20 minutes. Margaret scoffed. In what? Your underwear, she sneered. You can't possibly. In my backup dress, I cut in calmly. The room fell into stunned silence. Jason looked at me, confusion written on his face. You have a backup dress? Of course I didn't. But after working with temperamental clients at the advertising agency for 6 months, I had learned that it's always wise to be prepared for the unexpected. Melody, I turned to one of my bridesmaids. Remember that photo shoot we did for Cleveland Bride last month? Call Eliza and see if her sample dress is still available. Melody's eyes widened as she made the connection. The ivory sheath with the lace overlay? She asked. Exactly, I said. It should fit me perfectly. Jason's father stepped forward and immediately pulled out his phone. I'll have my driver pick it up right away. Where is it? While they worked on retrieving the dress, I turned my attention back to Margaret, who stood there in stunned silence, watching her scheme unravel. You really thought a dress would ruin this wedding? I asked, my voice steady. After everything Jason and I have been through? But everyone's watching. Margaret hissed, gesturing at my phone. They saw everything. Yes, they did, I agreed. And now they'll see what happens next. Turning to face the camera, I spoke directly to the guests still watching. Thank you for your patience. The ceremony may be delayed a little, but love always finds a way, especially when someone tries to destroy it. A cheer rang out from the speakers of my phone, the guests showing their support. Jason squeezed my hand, pride shining in his eyes. Mom, Jason said firmly, you need to leave. Dad will take you home. You're no longer welcome at our wedding. Margaret's face twisted with fury. You're choosing her over your own mother, she spat. After everything I've done for you? After what you've done today? Jason shot back. Absolutely. The next 20 minutes passed in a blur of frantic activity. Security escorted Margaret out after Mr. Wilson, apologizing for the situation, insisted on it. Eliza from Cleveland Bride arrived with not one, but 3 sample dresses. The bridal suite was transformed into a makeshift fashion studio as my bridesmaids, the venue coordinator, and even some helpful female guests pitched in. This one, Jessica exclaimed, holding up an elegant ivory sheath dress with delicate lace details, is perfect for your figure. We can have it ready in no time. The venue seamstress, initially hired for simple last-minute alterations, worked wonders with safety pins and quick stitches. Meanwhile, Jason returned to the ceremony space to address the guests in person. Through the live stream, I could hear him speaking calmly, despite the chaos. "Today didn't start how we expected," he said, his voice unwavering. "But Valerie and I have always believed that a marriage isn't about perfect circumstances. It's about how you handle the imperfect ones together." The crowd applauded. I smiled as Melody adjusted the borrowed veil on my head. "There," she said, stepping back to admire her work. "You look absolutely stunning." The dress wasn't the one I had envisioned wearing when I first dreamed of becoming Mrs. Jason Wilson, but as I looked in the mirror, I realized it suited me perfectly. It was simpler, more elegant, and in some way, stronger than the original choice, just like me, adapting rather than being defeated. There was a soft knock at the door before Mr. Wilson entered. His eyes widened when he saw me. "Valerie, you look beautiful." He paused, clearly emotional. I want to apologize for Margaret. Her actions were unforgivable." "You don't need to apologize for her, Mr. Wilson," I replied. "She didn't burn my dress." He nodded, grateful. "Jason sent me to let you know that everything is ready whenever you are." "Oh," he added with a small smile, "your boss from the agency is here." And here's the final rephrased paragraph. The dress I now wore was not the one I had originally planned to wear when I became Mrs. Jason Wilson, but as I gazed into the mirror, I saw that it fit me perfectly. It was simpler, more elegant, and somehow more resilient than my initial choice. It was a reflection of me, adjusting and moving forward, rather than allowing the circumstances to defeat me. It seems that he's documenting every moment for what he claims will be the greatest viral wedding marketing campaign Cleveland has ever seen. I couldn't help but laugh. Leave it to Eddie to spot a promotional opportunity in the midst of chaos. The advertising world had taught me one key lesson. Sometimes, the most captivating stories arise from navigating unexpected challenges. Just then, the venue coordinator appeared at the door. "We're ready whenever you are, Ms. Mitchell," she said. "The musicians are set, and we've adjusted the lighting to highlight your new dress." "Wait," I responded, an idea suddenly taking shape in my mind. "The live stream is still running, right?" When she confirmed that it was, I made a quick decision. Could we project it into the ceremony space for a few more minutes? I want everyone to see our journey from here to there, not just our arrival. About 10 minutes later, as my bridesmaids and I made our way through the garden path towards the ceremony space, I felt a surge of pride. I knew that every step was being broadcast to the guests waiting for us. This wasn't the typical bridal entrance, it was something much stronger. It was a declaration that nothing at all, not even a spiteful mother-in-law with a lighter, could stop this wedding. As we neared the doors of the ceremony space, the sound of applause reached me, growing louder with each step. Jason stood just inside, his face lighting up the moment he saw me. "Ready to get married?" he asked, taking my hand in his. "More ready than ever," I replied, giving his fingers a reassuring squeeze. The ceremony that followed wasn't what we had rehearsed, but it felt more real, more authentic than anything we could have ever planned. As I walked down the aisle in my borrowed dress, the guests stood, applauding instead of maintaining the usual reverent silence. Their faces displayed not only the typical joy that comes with weddings, but something much deeper: respect, admiration, and solidarity. Jason's father, seated in the front row, cast occasional glances toward the empty seat where Margaret should have been. Our eyes met for a brief moment, and I could sense his silent support. Pastor Mitchell, our officiant, who, despite the same last name, wasn't related to me, though we'd often joked about it, improvised beautifully. "Dearly beloved," he began, "we are gathered here today not only to witness a wedding, but to celebrate a triumph of love over adversity. Valerie and Jason have already encountered their first challenge as a couple, and they've met it with grace, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to one another." During the vows, Jason added something we hadn't rehearsed. "I promise to stand by you against anyone who tries to come between us," he declared, his voice strong and clear, reaching the back of the room and beyond, to those watching the live stream. Especially if that person is from my own family. When it was time for the exchange of rings, a brief moment of panic passed across Jason's face. The rings had been with his mother during the pre-ceremony preparations. Mr. Wilson, ever prepared, stepped forward quickly and pulled the velvet box from his pocket. I took the liberty of retrieving these earlier, just in case, he explained softly. After we were pronounced husband and wife, the celebration that followed felt like a release of all the tension that had built up throughout the afternoon. As we walked back down the aisle, I caught sight of Eddie, my boss, discreetly filming from the side. He gave me a thumbs up, one that was both professional and deeply emotional. The reception that followed in the Grand Pavilion's ballroom had a unique atmosphere, unlike any wedding I had ever attended. There was no polite conversation or formal wedding rituals. Instead, a festive defiance hung in the air. Someone had quickly created a custom Snapchat filter featuring a phoenix rising from ashes, with our names underneath. "Your wedding is trending locally on social media," Jessica told me as we entered the reception. "People are using hashtag NAR Rising from the Ashes and hashtag Can't Burn Love." Jason's college roommate, Tom, who worked in public relations, came up to us holding his phone. "The Cleveland Plain Dealer wants a statement," he said. Their lifestyle editor saw the live stream. Apparently, her niece was a guest, and they're calling it Cleveland's most resilient wedding. "Tell them we're just thankful for everyone's support," Jason said, his arm firmly around my waist. "And that true commitment means facing obstacles together, not running from them." As the evening went on, I noticed Mr. Wilson speaking with various family members, his gestures indicating some damage control. During dinner, Jason's Aunt Diane approached us, leaning in to speak privately. "Richard is beside himself," she confided. "Margaret's been escorted home, but she's threatening to cut Jason out of the family business if he doesn't change his mind. Richard told her that after today, she's the one who should worry about her position in the company," she added. Jason squeezed my hand under the table. "Dad's always been the backbone of the family," he said. "Mom just never realized it because he let her think she was in charge." "Got it. Here is the rephrased and revised version of the passage you provided." As our first dance unfolded, I couldn't help but notice the vacant tables at the front of the room, spaces once reserved for Margaret's country club friends, who had quietly vanished after the incident. In their place, my colleagues from the advertising agency had stepped in, offering their support without hesitation. "Mr. Wilson is handling the damage control like a true professional," Eddie remarked as he approached us, holding 2 glasses of champagne. "He's personally thanking everyone for staying, while subtly signaling to Margaret's circle that their absence isn't a loss." Jason nodded, watching his father with new respect as he worked the crowd. "I think this is the first time I've seen him stand up to her so openly," he whispered. 27 years of marriage, and today was his tipping point. The wedding photographer, who had initially been hired by Margaret, approached us with caution. "Mrs. Wilson, the younger Mrs. Wilson," she clarified with a polite smile. "I've captured some beautiful moments today, but I wanted to ask about the dress incident. Some guests took photos of it. Should I ask them to keep those private?" Jason and I exchanged a glance before I responded. "Honestly, I think it's better to be transparent. This has become part of our story now." As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a notification. A short video clip of Margaret setting my dress on fire had already garnered over 20,000 views on a local Cleveland news page. The comment section was flooded with support, along with stories from other brides who had endured challenging relationships with their in-laws. Eddie, scrolling through the comments, remarked, "You might not have planned it, but you've started something big. People are really connecting with your story about standing firm against toxic family dynamics." Jason's cousin Mia appeared at our table, her face a blend of discomfort and determination. "I want you both to know that not everyone in the family agrees with Aunt Margaret," she said firmly. "Most of us believe she's crossed a line that can't be undone." I was genuinely touched by her words. "Thank you, Mia," I replied. "That means a lot to us." As the evening went on, Jason received a text from his father. He read it silently before showing me the screen. "Your mother has locked herself in the guest house. She's demanding that I choose between her and you. I've told her that her behavior today has made my decision incredibly clear. We'll talk about the next steps when you return from your honeymoon. Proud of you both. Dad." I turned to Jason, searching his face for any sign of doubt or regret. "Are you okay?" I asked quietly. He squeezed my hand and smiled. "I'm better than okay. For years, I've watched Mom manipulate Dad, belittle you, and control everyone around her. Today, she finally showed her true colors to everyone, not just to us. It feels like a huge weight has been lifted." As the night went on, I noticed something remarkable happening. Guests who had initially been stiff and formal, especially Margaret's side of the family, were now loosening up. They started engaging more naturally with my friends and family. Without Margaret's imposing presence, the social walls she had built around them were beginning to crumble. Mrs. Wilson, the venue coordinator, approached us with an unexpected smile. "There's something you should see," she said, leading us to the entrance of the ballroom. There, prominently displayed on an easel, was a large photo frame filled with dozens of handwritten notes from the guests. The sign above the notes read, "Messages of love and resilience for Valerie and Jason." "Your bridesmaids organized this," Mrs. Wilson explained. "They asked the guests to write messages of support after everything that happened." 1 week into our honeymoon in the Maldives, the full impact of the events at our wedding continued to unfold. Jason and I sat on the private deck of our villa, overlooking the crystal-clear waters, scrolling through messages on our phones during our daily check-in with reality. "Dad says Mom's staying with Aunt Linda in Cincinnati," Jason mentioned, setting his phone down. Apparently, Aunt Linda is the only one who still believes her version of events, that she was just testing the dress fabric, and that everyone misunderstood her. I adjusted my sun hat and smiled wryly. It's hard to misunderstand someone shouting, "You can't marry my son," while holding a lighter. The Cleveland media had picked up our story with full force. What started as a sensational local wedding disaster had evolved into a broader discussion about toxic family dynamics and the importance of standing up for healthy relationships. Several women's magazines had reached out, asking for interviews about maintaining boundaries with difficult in-laws. Eddie says the agency's gotten 3 new client inquiries specifically asking for the team that dealt with the wedding dress incident, Jason said, showing me a message. He also wants to know if we'd consider joining a panel discussion on crisis management when we return. Jason took my hand, his thumb gently brushing my new wedding band. "Only if you want to. We can keep this private if you'd prefer," he said. "Let me know if you'd like any further changes or if you'd like me to continue." I reflected on the messages we had received from other couples who were also dealing with disapproving families. Perhaps our journey could offer some hope to others in similar situations. It wasn't the way I envisioned beginning our marriage, but authentic, Jason added, finishing my thought, like us. 3 months after our wedding, Jason and I attended the Wilson Family Foundation's annual gala, marking our first major public appearance since our honeymoon. This event, typically organized by Margaret, had undergone a complete transformation under Mr. Wilson's leadership. As our car arrived at the Cleveland Art Museum, Jason, looking nervous, asked, "Are you feeling okay?" "A little," I confessed, smoothing down my gown. It was a breathtaking emerald dress from Eliza's boutique, which had cleverly turned our wedding into a marketing success centered on resilience and second chances. As we entered, the mood in the venue felt completely different from past years. The usual cold formalities had been replaced by a genuine sense of warmth and welcome. Mr. Wilson greeted us at the entrance, looking much younger without Margaret's dominating presence. "There they are," he said with a smile, enveloping us both in a hug. "The couple who inspired our foundation's new initiative." He led us to a display showcasing the Wilson Family Foundation's newest program, Rising Phoenix Grants, which aimed to assist women rebuilding their lives after tough transitions. The foundation's logo had been updated with a subtle phoenix symbol, representing resilience. "We've already approved funding for 15 women," Mr. Wilson shared proudly. "Each one is reclaiming their life after hardship." As we mingled with the guests, I noticed a distinct shift in the atmosphere. Margaret's absence had clearly impacted the guest list. Gone were the usual society climbers and those obsessed with status, replaced by individuals who were truly passionate about the foundation's work. A young woman approached us. "Hi, I'm one of the grant recipients," she said, offering a warm smile. Your wedding story gave me the strength to leave my toxic marriage. Now, I'm starting my own business. Later that evening, as Jason and I shared a quiet moment on the museum's terrace, he checked his phone and received a text. "Mom's coming back to Cleveland," he said thoughtfully. "Dad says she's agreed to counseling if she hopes for any chance of reconciliation." I squeezed his hand in support. "Whatever happens with your parents, we'll face it together." He smiled, pulling me closer. "Just like we did with the wedding. Some flames are meant to destroy. Others simply reveal what's unbreakable," I whispered, feeling the weight of his words and the strength of our bond.